Hi everyone, Lucy here again, and today we're going to talk more about the TOEFL speaking test. Now, in today's lesson, we're going to talk about TOEFL Task 4, which is the Integrated Summarize Reading and Lecture Task. Now, in this lesson, we're going to first describe the task, then we're going to talk about the preparation and presentation stages, and finally, I'm going to give my own sample response. So the purpose of this lesson is to understand exactly how to answer TOEFL Speaking Task 4, Summarize Reading and Lecture. Okay, so what exactly is involved in this task? Well, you need to do several things. First, you have to read a passage in 45 seconds. Then you're going to listen to a lecture, which takes about 1 to 2 minutes. And finally, you need to summarize the reading and the lecture. So how much time do you have for this? Well, you have 30 seconds to prepare and you have 60 seconds to speak. Now remember, as always, during that preparation time, use that time wisely, use that scratch paper and pen to make some notes. Now, you don't need to write full sentences, right? You don't have time, but just write down a few keywords, a few main points that you really want to include in your presentation. Now, for the presentation, you're going to have 60 seconds to speak in this case, and make sure you use the full 60 seconds, right? Don't finish too early, and make sure you give a complete response. Okay, now first of all, it's time to read the passage, okay? So remember, you're going to have 45 seconds to read this passage. Are you ready? Here we go. Okay, fantastic. Now that you've read the passage, remember the next step is to listen to a lecture, okay? Now during this lecture, make sure you take notes, all right? Here's the lecture. The id is the most basic part of the personality and wants instant gratification for our wants and needs. If these needs or wants are not met, a person becomes tense or anxious. The id is the impulsive and unconscious part of our psyche, which responds directly and immediately to the instincts. The personality of the newborn child is all id, and only later does it develop an ego and superego. The id remains infantile in its function throughout a person's life, and does not change with time or experience, as it is not in touch with the external world. The id is not affected by reality, logic, or the everyday world, as it operates within the unconscious part of the mind. The ego develops in order to mediate between the unrealistic id and the external real world. It is the decision-making component of personality. Ideally, the ego works by reason, whereas the id is chaotic and totally unreasonable. The ego operates according to the reality principle, working out realistic ways of satisfying the id's demands, often compromising or postponing satisfaction to avoid negative consequences of society. Like the id, the ego seeks pleasure and avoids pain, but unlike the id, the ego is concerned with devising a realistic strategy to obtain pleasure. The ego has no concept of right or wrong. Something is good simply if it achieves its end of satisfying without causing harm to itself or to the id. The superego incorporates the values and morals of society, which are learned from one's parents and others. It develops around the age of 3 to 5. The superego's function is to control the id's impulses, especially those which society forbids, such as sex and aggression. It also has the function of persuading the ego to turn to moralistic goals rather than simply realistic ones, and to strive for perfection. The superego consists of 2 systems, the conscience and the ideal self. The conscience can punish the ego through causing feelings of guilt. For example, if the ego gives in to the id's demands, the superego may make the person feel bad through guilt. The ideal self is an imaginary picture of how you ought to be and represents career aspirations, how to treat other people, and how to behave as a member of society. Okay, after you've read the passage and you've listened to the lecture, it's time for you to prepare. Remember, you have 30 seconds to prepare. Use that time wisely. Okay, are you ready? Here you go. Okay, great. Do you feel ready? Remember, now you're going to have 60 seconds to speak, okay? Don't finish too early and try to give a complete answer. All right, your presentation starts now. Okay, how is that? Do you feel confident about your answer? Hopefully I'm confident in my answer. It's my turn. I'm going to give my sample response, okay? I'm going to have 60 seconds to speak. Here I go. So the id, ego, and superego form the three aspects of our personality. Sigmund Freud developed this theory as a model of the human psyche. According to this model, the id is the primitive and instinctive part of our nature. The professor explains this as the part of ourselves that wants instant gratification, to hunger, for example. The ego is the part of our psyche that works more by logic and reason. So the ego tries to satisfy the id according to realistic conditions. It can delay gratification to avoid negative consequences. The superego is the part of the psyche that acts on morals that we learned as children. Unlike the ego, which controls impulses based on reason, the superego controls them based on what is morally right. So it's divided into the conscience and the ideal self. It's the part of us that allows us to live in society. Okay, how did I go? I hope that was a helpful sample answer for you. And remember that if you have any questions about the TOEFL test, check out our website at e2language.com. Great. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.